when it comes to why brand identity is valuable or what you think is valuable about it, like I'm really curious why you think it matters and why how it's changing and maybe like for someone who's listening, maybe they have a startup or maybe they have a brand they're trying to start or what have you. How would you encourage them to like focus on their brand identity and why is it important?
Oh yeah. That's so interesting. Like, because like I don't think that it's super important all the time
Mm,
at certain stages and whatnot. And this is something that I'm also introducing as my studio is just like I've been the exposure project was the thing that started this new mentality in my head of just like I don't need to spend 8 weeks making a logo anymore. I just don't. I can do whatever you want in 1 week. I can guarantee that I can do it. But that is goes against everything you've ever learned. It's against everything everybody's ever said and like you don't have the discovery, you don't have all this like other BS behind it. But my kind of big caveat is that like at certain stages, like I can make you a logo that will get you to a point where you can then start creating equity. And then that's when you should be doing like the rest of the stuff. Like it's so complex because when you're first starting a company, like you need to make sure it works. Like don't spend time on an idea, on a thing. Like if you're sitting there making like the best logo you've ever seen for like band-aids, like I don't think that's the right move.
mm,
Like you got to make a different band-aid first.
right.
And then you can start building up the kind of like people being like, oh, this is cool. This is interesting. This is a new kind of band-aid. It's got like Neosporin built into it. It's great. Then you can start to be like, let's start telling this story. Let's start putting,
Sure.
being a little bit more kind of like interesting. But I think in the beginning stages of the growth, and this is kind of tied back to what I was talking about my time at the gardens or whatever, it's just like, let the weird ideas grow for a little bit because they might take you on a different path. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And if you start getting locked into creating brand equity from day one, it's just like a little bit irresponsible because then you're closing the doors to the spots that like maybe were the actual thing or maybe was the interesting thing or a new avenue of like customers or something like that, a new avenue of like creators or people that are looking for something that is like a little bit different. Because if you start to just like try to be everybody else, you'll succeed in becoming everybody else because that's what you're trying to do.
mm.
You know what I mean? And so if you leave a little bit of space for the brand to kind of like start to evolve on its own without kind of like a symbol or whatever, I think that that's kind of important. But at the same time, and this is what's super complicated. And I was kind of talking to you before we jumped on the call of like we're just about to launch like one of the companies that we've been working on for the past 4 months, literally from like 0 to 1. Like we're going from literally nothing to like we did a logo, we did a website, we did a brand identity, we did a photo shoot, we're doing packaging and all that stuff. And it's like about to come out. And it's also it feels really good. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
feels really good. It looks really good. It's going into a space that's like really kind of it needs that legacy vibe to be able to be accepted and it needs that kind of like medical claim of like we're real.
Mm,
And so sometimes that's really important to be seen as real. You know what I mean? But then look at the culture of what's going on right now. We have the Anna Delvey thing, we have the Theranos thing, we have the WeWork scammer guy,
mhm.
we have Tinder swindler or whatever. We got the girl who got like thought her dog was going to be immortal and then like was stealing money from her restaurant. Like we live in this time of freaking like fake it till you make it. And like all of those people almost made it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they almost did it. And it's like, what was the difference? It's just like brand, maybe? Like Anna Delvey had like a pitch deck or something. That was her whole thing. Like she had a cool
Right,
pitch deck.
yeah.
And like Fire Festival, like they had a cool website, they had a
Mm.
cool pitch deck. What? Like
Ja Rule?
that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense. Like, so brand can be really bad. It can be used for really bad
Mm,
things. And, brand without kind of like the soul, brand without soul can do really really bad things, and then soul without brand can do really good things. You know what I mean?
mm,
So we're in this really kind of this nasty world of like it's so easy to make a pitch deck. It's so easy to look like a millionaire. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
look at people on Instagram, like crafting their lives to seem like there's no sadness, to seem like there's no anxiety, to seem like there's no hardness. They're like faking themselves being on planes. Like in LA, you can literally go rent a cabin that's in a warehouse where you get to pick the backdrop of the plane window. So it's like you can fake anything.
Yeah.
So having the soul is what's different now. And I think that that is what's really, really important. I don't even know what your question was at this point, but that's where I'm at in terms of just like, you don't really need brand. Anyone can build any brand at any time with anyone. Anyone who knows how to use Illustrator, Photoshop, Canva, Pages, Pitch, whatever. They're all built on templates to make you look successful.
Mm.
When you want to start telling a different story, that's when you should be talking to designers. That's when you should be talking to people who do things differently and can think of things through an artistic angle or a different kind of, perspective.
Totally. Yeah, I think it's almost like you're saying like prove that there's something worth pursuing further to start.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Soul without brand can succeed, but
Yeah.
brand without soul can't.
Brand without soul will get you thrown in prison pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah, you'll be Elizabeth Holmes before you know it.